Hola, my name is Leisha. I am learning how to fear less and enjoy life. Today I'm going to share a travel story with you about the time that I was a cook in Guatemala. I'm also going to be sharing my favorite guacamole recipe. The full recipe will be on my brand new blog along with this travel story and lots of photos that you won't see in this video. So make sure you check the links in the description below if you would like to see those after watching. With everything going on in the world today, I was reminded of one of the darkest times in my life that actually was the catalyst for a brighter time and overall the start to this journey. I've been there. I've been at a point in my life where things were so bad that I honestly wasn't sure if anything was ever going to get better. In the past, right as I graduated from college, I opened up a business. I was so excited to make my own money and be my own boss, but that excitement faded with each day that passed. This is so satisfying. Is this not the most satisfying thing when you open an avocado and it's the perfect green color? It's just the best. In less than a year, the business I was so excited about became the thing I dreaded the most. I owned a business that was failing. It was next door to a pizza place, and I was eating $5 pizza every day while working there by myself for 12 hours at a time on most days. All I could focus on was how bad things were and how I had no good ideas about how to make things better. You may be feeling that right now with everything that's going on in the world. I really struggled every day back then to see a way out. Ultimately, the business had to be shut down, which was around the same time that some of my friends who volunteered building homes in Guatemala were preparing to go on a trip. This group of friends of mine, they would go down to Guatemala as volunteers to build homes for people in these very rural villages and who did not have a house to live in. They would bring someone whose only job was to cook. So they asked if, knowing I was now not employed, they asked if I would come along and be their cook. And at first, you can imagine that if you're in a situation where you don't have any money and you literally don't know how you're going to be paying your rent the next month, you're probably thinking, how am I going to afford a plane ticket? How am I going to afford being able to stay in a foreign country? And then they said, oh, no. Your trip is completely paid for as the cook that you're basically working. So your trip fees are covered. And I was like, whoa, that is amazing. Where do I sign up? I jumped on the plane feeling uncertain, but I was excited about going on this trip. We touched down in the country and got off the plane, and it was as if I was a different person. If you're an anxious person recovering from anxiety like me, perhaps someone who had no idea what anxiety even feels like once told you, feeling anxious and feeling excited are the same feeling. It's just all about how you perceive it. For me, although I had my list of worries about being here on this trip, I can tell you the majority of what I could feel was excitement for the week being the cook in Guatemala. We get off the plane, and I remember the ride up to the property we were staying at. It's absolutely beautiful there. It's on a coffee plantation, so you are going up the driveway amidst all of these coffee plants, and I love coffee. The coffee there is so amazing. It rivals the Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee, which is currently my favorite, but Guatemalan coffee will always have a special place in my heart for sure. So I get there and we pack up to go to the market. Oh, the market. One of my favorite places to go in Guatemala. The tomatoes were bright red and as big as my hand. The avocados were plentiful and cheap, and there were all kinds of tropical fruits. I remember picking up some blackberries to make a cobbler for dessert at some point during the week. They were a rich dark purple, and when I sampled one of them, I knew immediately that those sweet juicy berries deserved to end up in a cobbler. Being a cook in Guatemala was already such a fun way to travel, and we returned back to the casa with everything we needed to cook fresh, healthy meals for a week or so I thought. I love memories that bring a smile back to my face. And, for a long time, my anxiety and my depression was all about, it was really triggered by memories that I did not enjoy. Like, they were bad memories. And it took me forever, I feel like, to figure out how to get bad memories out of my head and be more in the habit of remembering the good things. So it makes me smile to tell this story to you guys. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this marinate in the refrigerator for a bit while I finish telling you guys the rest of the story. Ooh. It was taco night, right? Tacos, easy. Except for when the group shows up with about 5 or 6 extra people that we had not planned for. So there was no grocery store around the corner. There was no corner convenience store even. It was a trek to go out and get extra ingredients for additional people. And the anxious planner inside of me did not like that there were additional people throwing off my plans. So I gathered up all the ingredients and I was biting my fingernails over if they were going to be enough to feed everyone sufficiently. So we set everything out and everyone went through the line. We hoped that there would be enough. As the last person went through the line, there was still somehow plenty left over for even us as the cooks to have an extra serving. I have no idea to this day how we ended up feeding extra people with what we had already planned for. We were wondering at that point if we were going to have enough. And right now, I'm reminded of this story from the time that I was a cook in Guatemala, just at a time when I'm wondering, will I have enough? And maybe you're wondering that too. Maybe you are worried about your job. Maybe you've lost your job. I just want to remind you with this story today that no matter how much planning you do, no matter how much anxiety you let boil up as you try to control the situation, there will still be things that happen and that come into your life that are beyond your control. And something that we need to learn to do is trust that we will be taken care of and we will find a way. Going on trips, and I think this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about travel, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening to my story. I promise I'm gonna get to the secret ingredient in my guacamole in just a minute. Ultimately, I think that it is just important to remember those things. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this guacamole experience up with the secret ingredient, and it is sugar. Yes, I put one of these packets into my guacamole just to sweeten it up a little bit, and people go nuts over it. It's crazy. I mean, sugar, imagine that. People going nuts over sugar. Okay, so now this is marinated enough, just like we have sat together and marinated on my story about the time that I was a cook in Guatemala. All right, taste test. Here we go. This is so delicious. Next week's travel story is going to be having a good time in Cuba, and I'm going to feature a mojito recipe. I really appreciate all of you guys that joined in for this week's travel story. If you want to check out last week's video, it's gonna make you laugh. I promise, I hope, I don't know, it was my first attempt at a humor style video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Adios.